Will everyone please join me in Gasho as I recite the words of our founder, Master Shinran Shonin. Through the benefit of the unhindered light, we realize Shinjin of vast, majestic virtues, and the ice of our blind passions necessarily melts, immediately becoming water of enlightenment. Obstructions of karmic evil turn into virtues. It is like the relation of ice and water. The more the ice, the more the water. The more the obstructions, the more the virtues. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Namanda. Good morning, everyone. And Happy New Year to all of you. And as we say in Japanese, Akemashite omedetou gozaimasu. Kotoshi mo yoroshiku onegai shimasu. Thank you all so much for coming this year, because I can say that now this is officially the New Year service, the first service of 2025. Now, of course, it is always an interesting process, I think, January, transitioning into the new year. I remember when I used to still write checks for things. I don't really write checks anymore. Do you all still write checks for stuff? No, you just pay online. Some of you may still write checks. I bet that some of you, also when you write letters or when you date things, right? When you get into January, you put down the correct date, or like at least what day it is, or what have you, like January this. But probably many of you still write 2024. Right? By accident, because you just got so used to writing that. So now we have to, train ourselves to start writing 2025 onto things. Hopefully you all have changed your calendars and getting all the new, things ready for 2025. A lot of stuff actually happens at the new year. Now, of course, the New Year's Day service is less attended than the New Year's Eve service. I can only assume that either people are getting their houses ready or they're at the gym behind us at the YMCA starting their New Year's resolutions, right? But, one of the wonderful things about the new year is it really teaches us about the Buddhist concept of impermanence, or that things always change. But at the same time, we have to ask ourselves, do we feel any different? I mean, I have a birthday coming up in February, and I remember when I turned the age of 35, but did I really feel that different from the age of 34? I can definitely tell you that I do feel a difference between when I was 35 and when I was 21. Okay? I definitely can tell you that I feel a difference. I was way more energetic. I had more social energy during my 20s, early 20s. I always wanted to host parties, and I always wanted to get together with friends. I was completely, filled with that type of energy. Now, in my age 35, I'm happy to just spend a quiet evening at home with Reverend Cindy, and we can both go to bed by probably 9:30 p.m. Like that's where I'm at right now. I don't know if that's going to change, because looking at my parents, who are now in their 70s, they like to stay up like till 11, and I'm like, why? I don't understand that, Now, my mom does get up a little bit later, but yeah, like I don't know how my parents do it. Like, how do you stay up that late, And I want to be in bed by like 9 o'clock lots of the time. In fact, actually yesterday, we were able to do service here at Tacoma Buddhist Temple, and because White River Buddhist Temple's New Year's Eve service was at 2 p.m., I was able to go and join Reverend Cindy. So Reverend Cindy joined me for ours, and I was able to join her for theirs. But by 6 o'clock, I was ready to go to bed. I was like, I am so tired. So there's definitely something different that I feel now compared to when I was in my 20s. And this brings us back to the poems that I read this morning for Gosan from Shinran Shonin, right? Immediately becoming the water of enlightenment. This is a concept, a beautiful image, I think, in our Jodo Shinshu tradition, right? When we talk about, our progression to enlightenment in terms of the Nembutsu path. And then it really begs the question when we go through these transitions and changes, when the transition from our world of delusion and our world of bombuness, our world of unenlightenment to enlightenment. But going back to our regular everyday lives, right? At the beginning of 2024, very beginning of 2024, I was still about 200 and, I was just about 240, maybe 239 pounds. Now I'm down to now I'm actually down to about 220. So I lost, I lost a good almost, I think I did lose a good 30 pounds. But, in the middle of there, right? Where was that transition from there now, right? And did I see anything in between? So when working out or when doing physical exercise, right, especially when you're starting, like lots of people are probably today with the physical exercise, we get frustrated and it gets hard. And it's the same thing with Buddhist practice. I've talked to many people who practice the Zen form of Buddhism, Soto Zen, and they go to one retreat. They go to one retreat or they go to one Zazen meditation session. And then they come out going, I thought that I was going to, well, the first time actually they thought, ooh, that was great experience. I feel much better. But then they go back and, then they kind of start admitting to their priest or the sensei there, like, I thought sitting in these Zazen meditations was going to make me a more calm and more serene person. But now I'm starting to realize that I'm becoming way more aware of the times that I get mad or the times that I become upset. And I'm getting frustrated because I thought that this was a, progressive path to spiritual enlightenment. And it's this, and it's no different with Jodo Shinshu, right? We put our hands together and we say Namo Amida Butsu all the time, right? But then we ask ourselves, how do you feel after that? How do you feel? And a lot of people, right, they give me the answer they think I want to hear, like, ooh, I feel this sense of oneness, I feel this sense of serenity, right? And sometimes you might feel that way, which is great. And I'm glad that the Nembutsu brings you comfort. But other times you may go, I'm just saying it, and I know that we say it, but I don't really feel anything. And that's just as valid. And it's because we are unenlightened, because we don't always feel that way. We are going to have these ups and downs in our spiritual feeling, in our spiritual path. And it's the same thing, right? When some people, have been coming to temple for 30, 40, maybe their entire lives, and they still go through that spiritual up and down. This is the nature of us as Bonpo. And of course, one of the things that we have to fully accept as well is that for our personal and egotistical selves, by ourselves, we won't be able to achieve enlightenment. Yet, with the power of Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion, we are able to achieve enlightenment. And in this reason, we put our hands together and say, Namo Amida Butsu. It is the working of Amida's wisdom and compassion that brings us to say, Namo Amida Butsu. The real look at ourselves for who we truly are, not good or bad, but for who we truly are, right? Flawed, yes, but also filled with compassion and kindness. I don't think that human beings are all bad or all good. And harsh language sometimes like karmic evil or things like that, he's not talking about your being as a person. He's talking about the fact that we are obstructed with karmic evils or the fact that we are filled with karmic afflictions that keep us from enlightenment. And yet at the same time, because of these karmic afflictions, Amida Buddha gives us that encouragement and wisdom and compassion. As we start this new year, I think about, the newness of it and how we are able to begin a full new year But this also means that we are 1 year older, are we not? Of course, maybe many of you, your birthday hasn't come up yet, but we are a year older, as in 2025. And so with this new year and renewed, I ask all of us, including myself, how are we going to spend this year? For myself as a minister, my schedule is already very busy. I'm looking ahead and seeing all the trainings that I have to help attend and help teach at. I look at all the guest speaking invitations that come my way, and I have to sort of accept some, decline others, because it depends on the schedule. There's all these things that come my way. And then, of course, sadly, having to plan memorial services, funeral services, a lot of things keep coming up, as well as for all of you. So already, the year is starting off very, very busy. And yet at the same time, I also have to remember that I have to take a pause and stop and enjoy this moment for what it is, that I was able to make it to this new year of 2025. All of you are still here with me. All of you are still here with each other and are able to come to service. All of us are still here. And it's easy to get caught up in the future, in the past. But if we're able to come back to the present for just a moment, we truly can reawaken the gratefulness in our hearts, especially for Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion. And through the benefit of unhindered light, we realize Shinjin, of vast, majestic virtues, and the ice of our blind passions necessarily melts, immediately becoming water of enlightenment. This new year, I'm very hopeful, despite all of the things that might give me anxiety, despite all the things that I may not be so looking forward to this year. I am still very hopeful that this will be a wonderful year with all of you. A lot of people do come to the temple in Japan, at the new year. Like, they go to the Shinto shrines, they go to the temples. It's actually a very busy time for religious institutions in Japan. I don't know if any of you have been to Japan during New Year's, but Reverend Cindy and I made the mistake, not the mistake, but we went to the Fushimi Inari Shrine in Kyoto, Japan. That's where all the gates are and everything, those torii gates in Japan. And oh my goodness, it was like standing in a line at Disneyland to get to the shrine area. So many people, long lines going to the street. All these people are going, anyway, maybe they don't necessarily believe it perhaps, but all these people are going to receive blessings from the gods. They want to make an offer to gods, ring the bell, clap their hands twice, and receive the blessing from the various deities so that their new year will be a prosperous and good one. In Buddhism, I like to think that we don't need to do this. Now, it's still good to come to the temple, to burn incense, to kind of mentally reset ourselves for this upcoming year of 2025. But we don't necessarily need to ask for blessings, because Amida Buddha already freely gives us wisdom and compassion. Right? Lots of times when we ask for blessings, it's for material things. Right? If I were to go to the Fushimi Inari Shrine to be like, please, magically give me the winning numbers for the next $1 billion lottery. Right? Those are the kinds of things that people may ask for. Or, ooh, I want a brand new car. I want to buy a house. I want to buy all these, I want this, right? I want that. But Amida Buddha gives us something much more precious, and that is the working of the Dharma. Because the Dharma helps us to realize that at the end of the day, right, we don't need copious amounts of money to be happy. We don't need huge amounts of power and status and this vanity, vain sense of accomplishment in order to be happy. These are things I think that really hit home with me when it comes to the teachings of Buddhism, is that all of our selfish desires, like more money, new cars, anything that elevates our status or our sense of wealth, our Bonbu nature calling to us. Granted, I'm not saying that we should all be destitute and poor, or that we should, give up all of our possessions. Not saying that at all. In order to live in the United States of America, you need money. You need to have capital in order to function in the society, fully acknowledging that. But at the same time, the Buddha Dharma helps us to realize the foolishness of pursuing wealth so heavily. Again, not saying that I want us all to be poor or I want us all to give up our possessions, but at the same time, I'm glad that all of us come here to listen to the Buddha Dharma from our founder like Shinran Shonin and Shakyamuni Buddha, to help us bring us back to reality, of the interdependence of our world, the impermanence of time. All of these things are things that I think about in the new year. And of course, it sometimes brings me great comfort and great anxiety at the same time. But as I place my hands together and say Namo Amida Butsu, I am grateful that I am here to celebrate this new year with all of you in 2025. The last thing that I would like to end on is actually a thought that I remember hearing from my uncle Dean Koyama, who many of you will most likely remember from the time that he was here. But there's that saying that says that live every moment like it's your last day alive. That encourages us to live in the present, live in the moment, and enjoy life because we may not be here tomorrow. Uncle Dean, or I don't know if he came up with this, but I heard it from him, Reverend Dean Koyama took it a step further and say, you should actually live like yesterday was your last day alive. Right? You should live every day as if yesterday was the last day that you were going to be alive. And look, you awoke and you are still here with us now. And so this is where I really feel this teaching from him hit home with me, because we are in January 1st of a new year. Who's to say that I was going to make it to 2025, right? We live every day as if tomorrow is coming. But as we all know, and this is kind of a scary thought, nothing really ever guarantees that. But this doesn't mean that we should live our lives in paranoia and fear. It means that we should live our life with a deep sense of gratitude, that we are still here. And part of realizing this comes from Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion. Part of this realization comes from tariki and other working. So with this in mind, I wish you all a happy new year, and to please go home and contact your relatives, wish them a happy new year. Not because it's the polite thing to do, but because you genuinely care about them and you genuinely are delighted that they are still here with you. If you are able to make plans with friends and relatives who you really care about, please do so. Spend time with the ones that you loved and realize the preciousness of that time. I thank you all very much for taking time out of your busy schedules coming here today to the Tacoma Buddhist Temple. In closing, will you please join me in Gassho as I recite the words of our founder, Master Shinran Shonin. Through the benefit of the unhindered light, we realize Shinjin of vast majestic virtues, and the ice of our blind passions necessarily melts, immediately becoming water of enlightenment. Obstructions of karmic evil turn into virtues. It is like the relation of ice and water. The more the ice, the more the water. The more the obstructions, the more the virtues. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandavs, namandavs, namandavs.